Am I recording?
Yes.
Well, now that I've got it squished down, I can't, all the buttons aren't where they're supposed to be. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to episode 13 of Myths and Monsters.
It's a lot of numbers.
It is 13 episodes. It's a year and a month.
Yes.
So today we're going to be talking about the number 13 and Dyatlov Pass.
Or Dyatlov. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's in Russia.
Oh, neat. Okay. But before we get started, I want to thank our patrons for their support. We have 2 now. I am so excited.
Yes.
Thank you, Deanna. She's our new one. And Jen, who is our tried and true. So thank you guys so much for supporting us.
Yes, thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
We do.
So I will start.
Yes.
And I'm going to talk about the number 13.
Okie dokie.
You did that one episode at New Year's about superstitions, and that got me thinking. And
I did.
Since this is our 13th episode, I thought I would do a episode on that. I can't read my notes.
Oh, no.
I think I have to zoom down a little bit. Oops.
Okay. Oh, no.
Now I made it really big. Okay. I found it. I got it.
All right. Got it.
Okay. So the number 13.
Yes.
We've all heard 13 is an unlucky number, and Friday the 13th especially. So I was like, why? And where did that come from? So fear of the number 13 has a specifically recognized phobia. And I can't pronounce this, so we're going to try. Triskaidekaphobia.
Wow. Okay. Sure.
And it was coined in 1911.
Wow, that's so long ago.
Yeah.
Longer ago than I expected, I think. So.
Yeah. So sufferers of triskaidekaphobia try to avoid the bad luck that's associated with the number 13 by keeping away from anything numbered or labeled 13.
Well, that's got to be hard when, the 13th of the month comes around.
Yes. They have a really hard time. I just can't even imagine.
No.
Researchers estimate that at least 10% of the U.S. population has a fear of the number 13.
Wow.
10%.
That's a decent amount.
That's crazy. I just think that's crazy.
That's a lot.
It goes a step further to a fear of Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Which is called, oh boy.
Oh.
Paraskavidicatriophobia.
Oh. I appreciate your efforts in that. I really do.
Anyway, it's a phobia. It's a thing. There are also some biblical references to why the date Friday, in addition to the date 13, but Friday itself also has bad connotations. It has been linked in biblical references to doom and dread because Eve gave Adam the apple on the first Friday.
Oh.
They didn't even make it to the weekend. And Cain also killed Abel on a Friday.
Oh, yikes.
According to the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute in Asheville, North Carolina, more than 80% of high-rise buildings in the United States do not have a 13th floor.
Fascinating. I did not know that.
I know. It's so weird. It is considered unlucky to have 13 guests at the table.
I didn't know that either. I mean, I don't have 13 friends, so there's that.
Well, I was counting up. Oh gosh, when we go on vacation, how many of us are there? I think there's 11.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, then that's fine.
We're good. We're all good.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill refused to sit in the 13th row of a plane or theater.
Okay.
And Franklin Roosevelt never dined with 12 others and avoided traveling with 12 others. He avoided the 13th. So Franklin D. Roosevelt was apparently a triskaidekaphobia, a phobic.
He had the phobia.
So there are some theories as to where this fear of the 13 came from.
Yeah.
The Last Supper in Christianity Jesus Christ's Last Supper, there were 13 people, including himself. He was him, and he was surrounded by his 12 apostles. And it is thought that Judas was the 13th member.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's see. The Knights Templar on Friday the 13th in October 1307, King Philip IV of France ordered the arrest of all of the Knights Templar, and most of them were imprisoned and tortured and all of that good stuff.
Great.
And full moons.
Yeah.
A year with 13 full moons instead of 12s posed problems for the monks in charge of the calendars. This was considered a very unfortunate circumstances, especially by the monks who had to deal with the calendar month with 13 moons.
Right.
It upset their regular arrangement of church festivals.
Oh.
So for this reason, it was considered unlucky to have 13 moons in a year. And go ahead.
Were there 13 moons in 2020?
I was just about to say, and just so you know, 2020 had 13 full moons.
Yes.
Yes. Here's an interesting thing from the 1800s, 1827 to 1897. There was a group in New York that called themselves the 13 Club.
Oh.
Captain William Fowler decided he was going to try to remove that stigma that surrounded the number 13. And so he founded this society called the 13 Club.
How did that go?
And the group dined regularly on the 13th day of the month in the room 13 of the Knickerbocker Cottage,
Okay.
which was a popular watering hole that he owned from 1863 to 1883. Before sitting down to a 13-course dinner, the members would pass beneath a ladder and a banner reading, it's Latin, and I don't know how, I can read Latin, I just can't say Latin, but it means those of us who are about to die salute you. You know, that's a very common saying. So they would walk under a ladder, which is also supposed to be an unlucky thing.
Right.
And go and have a 13-course meal in room 13 on the 13th of the month. I mean, crazy.
You know, I don't think I have this phobia of the number 13, but I'm also not one to tempt fate.
Right.
So
an important milestone in the history of Friday the 13th came about in 1907 with a publication of a novel called Friday the 13th, written by Thomas William Lawson. It was a book about a New York City stockbroker who played on the superstitions about that date to create chaos on Wall Street and make a fortune.
Oh, okay.
So that was the first time it was put into a fiction story for the public to consume.
Right.
About Friday the 13th.
And for it to become like a big thing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like where it sparked.
And then, of course, the horror movie, Friday the 13th, we all know that came out in 1980. And it's the Jason that wears the hockey mask and all of that. It's probably the best known example of the superstition in pop culture.
Yeah.
It spawned sequels and comic books and novellas and video games. And of course, Halloween costumes.
Right.
We always see.
I mean, the mask.
Yeah. Even in the Christmas Vacation, he puts on that mask and it's the, you know, what is it called when you
reference?
A reference.
Yes.
To that. Wow. So in recent times, there have been a number of traumatic events that have occurred on Friday the 13th.
Oh.
In 1939, January 13th, a bushfire tore through Australia's Victoria province.
Oh, wow.
It killed 36 people in one day.
Oh, ouch. It's
been dubbed the Black Friday fire.
Yeah.
And it was a horrible fire season already for that province. And a total of 71 people died that January, and 75% of the state was affected by the flames.
Jeez.
Just terrible. In 1940, there was the German bombing of Buckingham Palace on September 13th. In July 13th, 1951, in northeastern Kansas, there had been rain and rain and rain and rain. And on Friday the 13th, records were broken with the swelling of the rivers. There was like 16 inches of precipitation.
Wow.
And the river rose to 40.8 feet, which was 14.8 feet above the flood stage level.
Holy cow.
And 6 feet higher than any flood ever measured up to that date, according to the National Weather Service. Yeah.
And that when was that?
Friday the 13th, July 13th, 1951.
Wow. That's crazy.
Although I'm thinking, remember that year that we drove up to visit Courtney in Indiana and the water was up to that bridge? I wonder if that broke that record.
It might have, because I remember driving over the bridge and the water was very close to the top of that bridge. That was crazy. Yeah.
And I wonder if there was a Friday the 13th around that time period. We'll have to look. Topeka was swamped, as was Lawrence. The business district in Manhattan, Kansas stood at 8 feet deep. The water was 8 feet deep. It was the single worst day of flood destruction in the Midwest to that date. 28 people died and another 500,000 were displaced.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Friday the 13th. Yay.
Woo.
One of New York's most brutal and notorious murders occurred on Friday the 13th. It was March 13th, 1964, and a bar manager named Kitty Genovese, maybe?
Yeah.
She was stabbed and raped by a stranger, Winston Mosley. The attack took more than a half an hour. It was reported that 38 people witnessed the attack and failed to call the police.
What?
Yeah. It's come to be known as the Kitty Genovese syndrome, the bystander effect. Which occurs when people fail to act in a situation because they assume somebody else will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Damn. It came out later that first report wasn't quite accurate. They don't think it was really 38 people, but there were people that saw it and turned away and didn't do anything about it. But there were also people that did try to intervene, but not quickly enough to save her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
The deadliest tropical cyclone in history struck on Friday, November 13th, 1970 in Bangladesh. Okay. It made landfall on Thursday night, and it killed 300,000 people.
Wow.
It was a Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds of 115 miles an hour, which makes you wonder, today we have Category 5s all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Ugh. Terrible.
That's insane.
You'll know this one. You won't know until I tell you, but you'll know once I tell you.
Okay.
Friday the 13th in October of 1972, the Uruguayan Old Christians Club rugby team boarded a little prop plane to travel to a match in Chile. They never made it. Because of a navigational error, they careened into an Andean mountain peak and crashed on a high altitude snowfield. This was only the beginning for the 27 of the original 45 passengers who survived the crash. And they didn't have cold weather gear and it was freezing. They didn't have food. They had to improvise water melting techniques. And this is where the book Alive came from in 1974 and 1993, because they had to eat each other to survive. Yeah. They had to eat their dead. They didn't kill anybody.
Right. Yeah.
To eat them, but they ate the ones that had already died. An avalanche came, killed 8 more of them. They were there from that Friday the 13th in 1972 until they were rescued on December 23rd, 1972. 72 days that they were out there.
Wow. That's insane.
Insane.
I do know of that story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then potentially one of the unluckiest men of all time, a Welsh bus conductor named Bob Renfrey, had a string of unlucky events on 7 different Friday the 13th throughout the 1990s.
Damn.
Yeah. He had to write off 4 cars. He lost his job. He fell into a river. He crashed his motorcycle. And he walked through a plate glass door, all on Friday the 13th.
Wow, that poor man.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Tupac Shakur died on Friday the 13th. It was September 13th, 1996. He was the hip hop artist. He was shot down. He was gunshot wounds, and he died in Las Vegas in a hospital. And he had actually gotten shot on September 7th, but he actually died on Friday the 13th. And it's still unsolved, that drive-by shooting. They don't know why. They think maybe it was because of business disputes, personal feuds, gang violence. And of course, there are the conspiracy theorists who think that maybe he's still alive and is in hiding somewhere for whatever reason. And your dad said probably hiding with Elvis somewhere.
Wow.
On October 13th, this is October 13th, 2006. This is called the Friday the 13th blizzard.
Oh.
New York got 24 inches. It was unprecedented to be that early, October 13th.
Damn. Yeah.
And the weather people said it was, words cannot do justice to the astounding event which opened the 2006-2007 snow season. I mean, crazy.
Yeah, that early.
And then also ISIS, of course, attacked Paris on Friday the 13th. It was November 13th, 2015, and killed 130 people in Paris. I'm sure you remember when that happened.
I do, yeah.
So that's what I've got on the number 13.
That's insane. Okay, well, when you lay it all out like that, because, you always think about like, oh, well, it's whatever. It's the 13th, Friday the 13th, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then like, you start listing out all of that horrible stuff that has happened on Friday the 13th. And I'm like, well, damn, like maybe
there's something to it.
There might be.
Although the statistics say it's actually no worse than any other day.
Right. No, I imagine it wouldn't be, because I'm sure that, Thursday the 7th has probably had a ton of bad stuff happen also.
Yeah, so. I think Italy it's the 17th, Tuesday the 17th. That's the unlucky day for them.
Oh, okay.
And then you've got things like back in the Roman times, the Ides of March, which was March 7th. You can all correct me if I'm wrong. Somewhere around there. That was way back in college days when I was learning about Latin and Rome and all that stuff. Which I don't remember now because I don't use Latin. But I don't even think I could read Latin anymore. And I had like 8 years of it.
Yeah, that's a lot of years.
But the only thing that I ever use Latin for is in law. I mean, I know what all the law terms mean that come from Latin. And I am very good at picking out what a word can mean based on its root from Latin.
From Latin.
So I'm really good at that. But otherwise, I can't read it anymore. I did read the Iliad in it, but I can't do that anymore.
Damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun. We did that in college.
That's neat.
Yeah, it was a really small class. And I remember we sat in like a conference room at a big table and we would all take turns reading from the Iliad. It was cool.
Very neat. All right.
So tell me about this Dyatlov Pass incident.
So oddly enough, there were no number 13s in any of this. I believe the main number is 9. So 9 Russian skiers, all college students, set out from Yekaterinburg, then known as, don't laugh at me.
Well, I'm just thinking, when I did the Loch Ness Monster one, we got corrected by a Scottish man.
I will happily.
So now we're going to be corrected by Russian people.
This is fine. Then known by the name of Sverdlovsk. In January 1959, they were singing songs on an overnight train to go on a planned ski trip that would be them skiing for about 200 miles over 16 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Sounds
they planned to, it does. Yeah. And so that was to get their like level 3 certification. All of these people had a lot of experience with skiing and summiting mountain peaks to go skiing and like all that kind of stuff. So this is in January 1959. They plan to summit several peaks along the way, allowing for enough time to be back before the spring semester. Because again, all of these were college students, so around the age of 23. After catching a lift with some lumberjacks and following a sleigh driver north, the group skied out of an abandoned village on January 28th, eventually making it to their final campsite on February 1st. So I know I'm tossing a lot of dates at you. They're not necessarily important, but basically this all happened in January to like February.
Of 1959.
Of 1959, right. So this is actually back when it was like the Soviet Union.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So searchers later found, so what happened was they get to their camp and they were supposed to make contact by February 12th is when the main guy, I have his name in here somewhere, but his last name was Dyatlov, which is why it is called the Pyatlov Pass now, was supposed to reach out and let his buddies back home know, hey, I'll reach out with a message by February 12th. It might take a few days later than that, just depending on weather. It's, oftentimes a few days will be off or whatever. So he obviously never sent the message home.
Okay.
So searchers were sent out and found their tracks along a frozen river. And upon reaching Dead Mountain, stumbled across a half-collapsed tent on a steep wind-swept slope. Inside, food supplies and outer clothing were laid out as if the group had been about to cook dinner. 9 pairs of boots stood along one wall, and bizarrely, the tent appeared to have been slashed open from the inside.
Oh.
Yeah. So in the forest below, the investigators came across 2 bodies under a cedar tree lying next to the remains of, the visible remains of a fire. So they had made a fire down here, outside of the tent, down by this tree about a mile away.
Oh.
Yeah. So the temperature had been down to -25 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit the night that the group had disappeared. And the pair that they found were only wearing long underwear. So they weren't wearing their large jackets. They weren't wearing their boots or whatever. Fragments of human skin on the tree revealed that they had broken off branches to make their fire. The bodies of Dyatlov and 2 others were without shoes and coats, and they were found several hundred feet away. So at this point, I believe it's 5 bodies have been found.
Wow.
Yeah. So it wasn't until the snow began to thaw 2 months later that they found the remaining 4 corpses. And 2 of those had broken ribs and 1 skull was partially crushed.
What?
Yeah. So a legal inquest started immediately after the first 5 bodies were found. Some of this gets grisly, so I'm very sorry. If y'all are queasy, maybe just don't. But so a medical examination found no injuries that might have led to their deaths of these first 5 bodies, and it was concluded that they had all died of hypothermia. One of them had a small crack in his skull, but it wasn't thought to be a fatal injury. An examination of the 4 bodies found 2 months later, they were found in May, shifted the narrative of that incident. So 3 of the hikers had fatal injuries. So one of them had major skull damage. 2 others had major chest fractures. According to another examiner, the force required to cause such damage would have had to have been extremely high. So comparable to that of a car crash.
Yeah. Oh my Lord.
So notably, the bodies had no external wounds. So there was nothing on the outside, but everything on the inside, the bones, the internal bones were broken.
Oh my God.
I know, associated with the bone fractures as if they had been subjected to a high level of pressure.
From the inside?
Yes.
Oh my God, yes. That's crazy.
Uh-huh. So all 4 bodies found at the bottom of the creek were found at the bottom, oh my goodness, were found at the bottom of the creek in a running stream of water, and they all had soft tissue damage to their head and face. So one of them was missing her tongue and her eyes. And
what?
Lips, I know, as well as the facial tissue of fragment to skull bone. So there was.
Oh my God! I mean, you could see animals coming and eating, but you don't.
Yes,
eat the tongue out of somebody's mouth.
I feel like that could potentially happen, but I feel like they would also go for the stomach. You know,
something easier to get into than through the teeth.
Right.
The eyeballs that are sucking to your what?
But say that a bird or a crow came by. I don't know what kind of birds were there, but
okay, birds I could see, but the tongue is still weird.
It's a weird one.
Okay.
Yeah. So another one also had his eyeballs missing, and then one of them had his eyebrows missing. So the actual skin of the eyebrows.
Eyebrows.
Yes.
I can't see that a bird would think the eyebrows would be extremely tasty.
I don't, me neither. I don't know though. I don't know. And that's what makes this so weird is there isn't really an explanation for any of this.
Oh my Lord.
So the forensic expert performing the postmortem examination judged that these injuries happened postmortem. So this was all after death, just due to the location of the bodies in a stream and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So there was initial speculation that the indigenous Mansi people where these were like reindeer herders local to the area, had attacked and murdered the group for encroaching upon their lands. Several of them were interrogated, but the investigation indicated that the nature of the deaths did not support this hypothesis. So it was they only found the hikers' footprints. And there was no sign of like hand-to-hand struggling. So like there was no like defensive wounds, no fighting like that seemed to have happened.
Okay.
So yeah, again, like some of these people only had one shoe on, others wore only socks. Some were found in wrapped like snips of ripped clothing that seemed to have been cut from those who were already dead. So like we don't know like what happened.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So journalists reporting on the available parts of the inquest files claim that it states 6 of the group members died of hypothermia and 3 of fatal injuries. There were no indications of other people nearby apart from the 9 travelers. The tent had been ripped open from within. The victims had died 6 to 8 hours after their last meal. Traces from the camp showed that all group members left the campsite of their own accord on foot. So like they weren't dragged away.
Without shoes.
Right.
How? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, I don't either. Some levels of radiation were found on one of the victims' clothing. To dispel the theory of an attack by the indigenous people, this journalist stated that, the medical examiner stated that the fatal injuries of the 3 bodies could not have been caused by human beings because the force of the blows had been too strong and no soft tissue had been damaged. So with the like pressure injuries.
That's so strange.
Right. Release documents contain no information about the condition of the skiers' internal organs, and there were no survivors. So all 9 of these skiers did die. So the inquiry carried out in spring of 1959 left a lot of questions unresolved. I'm sure a lot of the same ones that you're having right now. But like, why did the skiers flee the tent to certain death in the wind and snow? What caused the blunt force traumas? Why did analysis find that elevated levels of radioactivity on 2 of the victims' clothing? These questions were all beyond the purview of the official investigators, who concluded that there had been no foul play, and that the students were killed by a quote unquote elemental force that the tourists were not able to overcome. So the case was closed. The findings were archived as quote unquote secret, as was the routine in the Soviet Union at the time. So a local journalist was barred from filing a report on the incident. And for decades, the only publication related to the mystery was a novel by one of the searchers who helped find the campsite and all that kind of stuff. The fear that was fictional though. So like it had a different ending. Like not all of the skiers had died in that.
Okay.
In that the theory put forward by an American researcher named Donnie Ichar, I'm not sure. As well as by some Russian scientists, is that severe winds blowing over the dome of the mountain created a Kármán vortex street of whirlwinds, which produced a low frequency sound that is not entirely audible, but vibrates the hair cells in the ear, causing nausea and intense psychological discomfort. Under that onslaught in the pitch dark, the students could have been overcome by feelings of fear and panic and fled the tent. When announcing its inquiry within the past couple of years, so more recent, the Russian prosecutor general ruled out criminal explanations and said that it was focusing instead on 3 natural causes: an avalanche, a snow slab, or a hurricane, as the reason for.
Yeah, because hurricanes take your tongue out all the time.
Right. Well, again, we don't know. Like maybe that was like animal intervention or something. I have no idea. But that's all I've got on it. I'm sure there are a ton more theories on what has happened.
I guess after the body dies and it bloats and all of that, the tongue sometimes, I guess, does come out.
Right. Yeah.
But usually that's not in cold weather.
Right.
Oh, we could write a definite urban fantasy story on that one.
Absolutely. No, I think because it's left open. And I've been actually seeing a lot of articles lately about there's another explanation, but I think it had to do with avalanches again. But I haven't read on those. So
avalanche, how does that explain the internal injuries without soft tissue damage?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, even the Alien movies wouldn't explain that, because the alien burst out, yeah. So there would be damage. What?
Right.
That is fascinating. I think
super curious.
That is a great premise that is a good start for a book.
Yeah. Really interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, and there's a lot more information on it, I believe. So like y'all should go look it up. It's Dyatlov Pass incident, Dyatlov pass.
Dyatlv.
TLOV.
TLOV.
Yes.
Dyatlov Pass. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, what a neat episode, guys. Welcome to March.
March. Yes, welcome to March. Very, very happy stuff we talked about today.
All right. Well, we will see you all next time.
Thanks, guys.